No better place to start than the first two Big Star records, which are original pressings. Slowdive Souvlaki, their second album. So this is an original Creation Records press of this one. First pressing of Mother Love Bone's Apple.
Hey, Patrick here. Welcome to another episode of Record Rooms. This is a show where I interview record collectors in their record rooms. Today I'm chatting with Eric Thaler. I'm pretty excited about this episode because, to be perfectly honest, I haven't interviewed anybody with taste like Eric's so far for this show. Eric has tons of great shoegaze, slowcore, he's got some rare grunge, but he also loves folk music, he loves ambient drone. In his words, everything kind of under the rock umbrella. But Eric is also like a big fan of contemporary music as well. Like, he goes to a lot of shows, he buys a lot of new records, he keeps very meticulous spreadsheets of like every show he goes to, he reviews them, every new record he buys, he reviews them. He does a year-end list every year. One of the best parts for me of making this show is getting a better understanding of all the different types of collectors out there. Some care way more about records, some care way more about gear, some like alphabetizing more than they like music. And Eric is one of those collectors who's like really into the details. He's really into organizing. And more than everything, he's really into like high fidelity records. Eric will sell a first pressing record if he thinks that the third or the fourth or the Japanese or the German or whatever it is sounds better. He does shootouts where he A/B tests multiple, sometimes several copies of a record to find the best sounding one, and that's the one that he keeps. So if you enjoy this interview, there's an extended cut on my Patreon. Starts at $2 a month. There's a lot more song samples on there. There's a lot more records that we talk about on there. But also, we do a walkthrough of Eric's full stereo system. Trust me when I say it's very impressive. And it also gets you included into the monthly rare record raffle that I do. It's currently August 2026, and this month's raffle record is I Should Coco by Supergrass. This is an original 1995 UK pressing of this record. If you're watching this after August 2026, you can always check out the highlights on the Record Room's Instagram to see whatever I'm giving away that month. Okay, and with that, let's jump right in. This is Record Rooms with Eric Thaler.
I'm Eric Thaler. Genre-wise, I collect loosely under the rubric of rock, but I'd say it runs the gamut from ambient drone to Krautrock and shoegaze, power pop, first wave punk, etc.
And when did you start?
I started 25 years ago, I think, plus. I started with probably CDs initially. That's just what was primarily there. Then dovetailed slowly into vinyl. It probably came about because I was interested in the sound of music and started purchasing audio equipment and audio gear, started reading articles about how warm vinyl could be, and eventually made the jump into getting a turntable, initially buying more old used records that I didn't have on CD. I found that some listening sessions, I was playing music till about 11:30, 12. I felt good. I was like, this is great. I had a great time. It was fun, listened to a bunch of stuff. And then sometimes I'd find myself playing till 1, 2 in the morning, saying like, one more song, one more side in this case. And what I realized organically is I kept staying later for vinyl, and I was okay with stopping early with CD. It made me realize something's going on. Like, irrespective of what somebody prefers or what the math or the science says, for me, that vinyl, it resonated. It made me stay more relaxed, more engaged. I had less listener fatigue, I guess is an expression that's used. You know, there are issues, no matter how well a good record looks, no matter how well you clean it, it can still be noisy. Yeah. It can still be just sound like it wasn't recorded well, maybe from a digital source, or somebody didn't love or care, or a listener EQ it right. So all that stuff exists. I mean, in a perfect world, if you're not insane to some degree, it's great to stick with high-res digital or digital. I totally get it. But when everything clicks, when all the tumblers and the lock come together and you have the right pressing, you have the right equipment, and you're in the right frame of mind, it's just magical.
So roughly how many records in your collection?
Including 7 inches, I'd say I'm just over 5,000, probably about 500 to 600 cassettes and then a couple thousand CDs. CDs don't get played very often anymore.
Do you sell?
Very rarely. I do have a sell box. I guess I do, but the sell box exists where, and we'll probably talk about this a bit later, when I conduct shootouts and I have multiple copies of a record, I play a couple and one might be like, ooh, this sounds wrong. It's like, I can just hear it, and then, or it's too noisy, and then I put it in my sell pile, and eventually it gets enough records there, 7,500 records or something, and then I'll sell it at that point.
And by that, do you mean like the condition of the vinyl, or do you mean like the audio quality of the playback?
Both. It might be the playback for sure, or it could be, it's just playback similar, but it's much noisier, even if it looks great.
So would you call yourself a perfectionist?
It's a pursuit where it's bizarre to even think about going that way, but I would say maybe an optimalist. I don't know. I look for a more optimal pressing or sound, but perfectionist, I would give that. That's so difficult, especially on vinyl.
It does seem like a funny format to enjoy if you're seeking something that's like absolutely perfect. Even if it's perfectly clean, as you mentioned, like there's always going to be a little bit of surface noise.
You have records where I guess it's close that there isn't. Even in between tracks, you can almost hear nothing. It's like it happens, but that's not the goal. It's like buying fruit, right? It's more expensive, but sometimes it's going to look great on the outside and it's rotten on the inside or it doesn't work, but you don't get mad at the vendor. You don't get mad at the entire fruit. Like you just take it in stride. So that's how I view it. So there's no better place to start than the first two Big Star records, which are original pressings.
These are like the two records that I want more than any others. If you ever sell these,
I won't. I know. I appreciate it, but it's like I'll just regret it. But you know what, a way to look at it is maybe I stumble across an original that sounds even quieter or better, and it could happen. It's conceivable.
I hope you do.
Yeah, and you'll note from both of them is the notch marks. I think the notch marks down there, the one up here, because these records ended up in the cutout bin because of distribution issues at the time, right? The critics loved them. They got rave reviews. They weren't in the shops. The radio stations might play it, and they're like, we can't buy the record, and then you move on. And then once the records finally arrived, people forgot about it. There's a site online and you want to see crazy records that like some of the prices they get. There's been a few, LP Guru and Better Records, and they're places where they do shootouts. And that's kind of how I learned about it, where they might have, say, 30, 40, 50 copies, maybe more of a record. And they spend an entire day and they have a team and they're like shortlisting these down and they have grades for it and they sell them. And I just started doing it on a very small scale myself. Often it's more, I have a record, I really enjoy it, and then I find it's a US pressing, and then I find a UK pressing or a Japanese pressing or some other pressing in the wild price reason, like, I like this record so much, let me just buy it and do a shootout.
Sure.
And then see, and I don't want to give anyone the illusion that all the time or most of the time, I'm eureka. I have a moment where this is so much better. A lot of times it's not the case. They're very similar, and I'll just keep the one that's quieter.
Does one come to mind that was the most stark difference from one of your shootouts?
I think it's Misfits by the Kinks, and I kept it because I play it for people if they care about music and are having a listening session. I think it's a MoFi, but it was definitely an audiophile, and it's much more expensive like they usually are, right, than the normal. And I bought a still sealed US generic early pressing, and the difference between those two, how much better the generic US pressing that was still sealed compared to, and I'm not talking about surface noise. There's only a couple instances where I keep it and I don't sell it, and that's one because it was the dichotomy was so stark. This one here is the audiophile pressing. You can see it, I think it's on the back on the top too, original master recording. This one was, I think when I bought it, like 40, 50 bucks, and it's a long time ago, and it's awful. Like I would, and then this is just generic. It was still sealed at the time, US pressing. It's a byproduct too of the stereo you have. And there's nothing wrong with the entry-level stereo and you have that, but I wouldn't recommend that path if you're playing on a more entry-level system. The more you invest in your system, the more time passes, the more you upgrade things, you split things out, meaning maybe you get a standalone phono amp and standalone line stage preamp and things like that. You're more inclined to hear that difference. I've never purchased my own car, so I've kind of funneled money into audio equipment and records instead of that.
Yeah.
And so I know that I have a good system, but compared to some of how crazy it can get, it's still, it's nice, but it's not anything.
Not having a car and that funneling into your record collection is really funny. Like, cause I come at this mostly from the punk world, so it's like straight edge guys always have the best record collections or the biggest record collections because they don't drink and they don't do drugs.
Good point. Yeah.
Right? Even if they're making the same amount as everybody else, they don't have the same vices, so it usually goes onto the shelf.
And think of this too, even when they're playing the records, they're not in a drunken stupor, or
so the condition
their stuff
is good.
stays immaculate, right? So yeah, I could see that. That's a good point. You know, take something like the Beatles. I find that their late 70s stuff in general and from the UK stereos sound better than the earlier, more expensive stuff from a sound quality perspective. Usually earlier pressings, they don't have to be original, will sound amazing. It can sound better than the original depending on how big the band is and how many iterations of it were pressed and released. But there are examples where I think, I'll show a number, they were going to play it or I was going to talk about it, but here's one that it's a reissue just done a few years ago. It's Tom Petty's
Wildflowers.
Yeah, Wildflowers and all the rest. This is a 3-record set of it, so the full album over 2, like the original release, and then a third one.
You belong among the wildflowers. You belong somewhere.
But this is a labor of love. Like the estate of Tom Petty, how they're involved. This is a modern pressing. I always recommend it. It sounds, you have a good stereo and you want to hear a modern pressing that sounds amazing and still has large soundstage and warmth and life. This is it. Like this is amazing. Okay. I highly recommend this.
I love Tom Petty, and that's the one record from him that I need but don't have.
Because the original's so expensive.
The original's so
Exactly.
expensive.
I would be stunned. If it's better, I would guess it could be marginally better. This thing sounds amazing.
I don't want to spend more than $30, $40 on a classic rock LP. What band or artist do you have the most records by?
So that would be Lou Reed. I think you're standing almost right in front of it. So I think there's about 38 to 40 Lou Reed albums here. And it's a loaded question in the sense I love Lou Reed, don't get me wrong, although Lou Reed's released a lot of junk, right? We're clear about this, right? Velvet Underground, brilliant. Lou Reed can be brilliant, but there can be a lot of duffs in there too. The Blue Mask by Lou Reed, I think, is his best album front to back.
Delmore, I missed all your funny ways. I missed your...
If you're just sitting down to listen to the whole thing, it's 1980, I believe. He just got married for the second time. He moved to like the suburbs or exurbs, had like a nice house on the water. His frame of mind, he was just, not that his songs were happy, they were miserable too. There's an earnestness to it. Like he cares. You can tell he cares and he feels rejuvenated in the band, the way he's playing. And front to back, I don't think anything else touches it. My favorite shoegaze album from, especially the dreamier side of shoegaze, would be Slow Dive Souvlaki, first, their second album. So this is an original Creation Records press of this one. It's funny, I love shoegaze, but I'm not a huge My Bloody Valentine guy. So I'm okay with them, but I'm not huge. I think Swerve Driver's amazing. I think Ride's great. I think Slow Dive's amazing. Whereas with My Bloody Valentine, because he layered in or put so many guitar tracks over it, he compressed stuff. And I just didn't like the sound quality. It's flattened and it doesn't open up. There's no good sound stage, at least back then. I haven't revisited. So I've never really been interested. I've got a couple reissues of them. I've never been interested in originals for My Bloody Valentine, but the other ones in the Triumvirate and then the secondary ones, I've been a big fan of. My daughter just discovered a couple songs of it. I remember seeing her play. I'm like, how do you know this band? And she's like, I don't know, TikTok or something. And I was like, wow, I go, do you want to hear more about them? Yeah. Or you want to hear that song on my stereo? Of course. She dug them and I ended up we got first row balcony seats to see them at Massey Hall. But it was a more memorable show than when they were formed. And I would have missed it because I already did the first one without, being triggered for taking my daughter and her interest in it. I was glad I went. It was one of the 12 best shows I saw that year out of the maybe 60 or so, whatever I saw that year. So this is the most artistic record I own. Lee Baggett is his name. I kind of call it like outsider, folky rock, mid-tempo rock.
Mama, I can't complain. You give me everything. I wake up every day, it's a good day, and you're smiling back at me.
If anyone's familiar with Little Wings, Kyle Field, that's kind of how I discovered him through that. He's on a label, Perpetual Doom, really cool label, really nice owner, Lou. I got an email and it said there was one copy of a special version of this that the owner, Lou, was selling. So Lee Baggett actually painted, like quasi-impressionistic, like the strokes, you can feel it. So this is all painted by the singer, signed by him. In addition to that, it's also one of 5 test pressings too.
Did you do a shootout between the test press and the regular version?
So I actually like the test press a little better, but it's not a lot. It was very subtle. Of course I did. It was still very subtle, and it might have been even a little quieter. I think I'm going to pull out a bit of Krautrock for you.
You got some Can?
I do have lots of can, but this is M on Dual 2. This is the 1971 or 2 German pressing. It's in phenomenal shape, really cool cover, you know, very, very cool, 2 LP. From all the Krautrock I have, everything I've played, my favorite song is on this album, Archangel's Thunderbird. It sounds like the song is about to collapse in on itself. It's like a screaming banshee singer. Something about that song and nothing else they did really sounds like that song. Generally speaking, the German pressings, the early German pressings of the Krautrock sound amazing. I touched on it earlier. This is a band, Alluvium, ambient drone band. Their first 5-6 albums weren't released on vinyl, and then they put them all together for the first time, pressed on vinyl, and added maybe an odds and ends piece. So they do the old public library thing here. Obviously, right out of the gate, that looks cool. It's like, wow, this does look like a library book from the 80s, right? The artist, he signed it, the label signed it, the artist who did all the artwork here signed it, and they write your name as the person who purchased it. You can sell this and it can travel, and whoever the original owner was, his name's part of that box set for eternity. Box sets can be a cheap pop when you show them because by design they're made beautifully often and they're showpiece stuff. But in this case, that part of it to me makes it so unique.
And then whoever you sell it to can write their name in too.
Hopefully not. Oh God, that's as a collector. Now you're like the guy that throws out the OBI on a Japanese record. You just break hearts and souls. You can't do that.
How do you organize?
So everything's alphabetical and chronological within it. If it's a full name, like a person's name, it would be the last name first. I hate looking at records when spaces are left. So you got like angles here and they're like, it's smart because they can put the new record in quick. I get it. But there's something where it creates almost an abstract art feel when everything's straight, everything's lined up, everything's alphabetized. There's a calming element to it for me that I always seek out. The downside of that is that, you know, for a year or two, anything new I buy is stored in kind of a separate spot. I get more access to it. And then when I decide to do the reintegration, it takes my back sore by the end of it. I love it. Don't get me wrong. It's like the Christ Child manger and putting hands on it. I feel so good when it's done. It's such a completist element. But I do acknowledge it's, you know, cut back-to-back 6-7 hour days of kind of getting everything organized, moving everything over, moving it back slowly and continuing on that route, right?
Mm-hmm. The floor becomes the new
the floor, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like I got walkways through it, right? And it's all, I joke sometimes saying, oh, maybe there's a bit of functional OCD I have. I know some people subdivide their genres. It's like, this is my classic rock. This is my country. This is my grunge. Again, makes sense. But I don't want my brain to have to start making decisions on straddled bands. And then if I look for it, unsure where I might have put it, I'm like, I just want to know alphabetized chronologically. I can never get lost.
Just true alphabetization.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you don't have a lot of duplicates. Again, you do your shootouts.
Some, but not whatever. Yeah.
What record do you think you have the most duplicates of?
They fell into the Midwestern emo scene initially, but they quickly changed into a more atmospheric, almost a post-rock, shoegazy sound. It was a band called Appleseed Cast. I think I discovered them when they released Mare Vitalis, and it's probably one of the earliest non-mainstream bands that I made a concerted effort to travel to see because they wouldn't come to Canada. So those records have a nostalgia and emotional element to me. So I found that, like for Mare Vitalis, I probably have 4 different copies of the original.
Can we see that?
This might be it here. Yeah. So this would be the most recent one there. And you get another one there. The second most, I don't remember. Yeah, they're in radically different covers. And that's the original one. Like Deep Elm, the label, issued it for the first time. And this one sounds awful. I remember at the time, I asked the label owner, like, how was this pressed? What happened? I think his line was, no, we gave him the glass masters or something. It should be fine. And it's noisy and lifeless. So even though it's probably worth the most, I'm guessing because it's the first one, stay away from this one unless you're a completist or you already have it, and find one of the reissues for that. This is a band called Acetone. The stuff that I really like from them is when they sound a bit like dreamy slowcore, maybe would be the way I describe it. They were a 3-piece. This is an original one, double LP, self-titled. Again, a little bit of a notch mark. Again, not uncommon when a band just doesn't sell a lot at its time, right?
And always changing everything that is near to.
It's a band called Duster. A lo-fi space rock is the way I would describe it. I bought these 3 records, so they're all original pressings, like their first one. This is, I think, an EP, I believe, and then this is their other full length. And I'd truly forgotten about them for a couple decades. So Codeine was playing here, they reformed, and they were playing Danforth Music Hall as an opener. But the headliners were Duster. And I remember thinking, that Duster? Like who? I was confused. I'm like, how are they playing Danforth Music Hall? And it's like sold out or almost, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Half the line, or maybe even 40, 30%, were like men that were 40 years old or more. And the other half were like 16-year-old girls. And then what I found out afterwards from my daughters, that a couple of these Duster songs blew up on TikTok.
Yeah, I was gonna guess. It sounds like a TikTok effect.
So exactly, like it's natural, that kind of blow up, right? For this band, nobody's pushing them. There's no...
Yeah, it's like winning the lottery for a band to have a song go viral on TikTok at some point, you know? Eric, do you mind if we take a look at your gear?
Of course,
Your setup. If you want to see the walkthrough of Eric's hi-fi system, check it out on the Patreon cut of this episode. Membership starts at $2 a month, and it also gets you included into the rare record raffle that I do every month. Okay, back to it.
Okay, so this is first pressing of Mother Love Bone's Apple.
Like a crown of thorns. It's all
It's a promo copy. Got the gold kind of emboss thing on it, which is cool. I bought this a long, long time ago. Like, this is like, I like grunge originally, you know, kind of a big genre for me, like most people, probably my generation. The guy who sold it to me was in Seattle, but he goes, I used to work at a bar and Susan Silver dropped this off at the bar. And she's the one who gave it to me. And she, if you look back, she married Chris Cornell, but she did manage, I think, Alice in Chains, but her first working relationship with a guy who took over and managed Mother Love Bone. So, and it's a promo copy official. It doesn't matter that I can't prove it. It's just the order of it is such that I know it's true. It was very inexpensive at the time. I got it for, I think, $25, $30 or something like that. But you can find this record, well, not easy, but when you do find it, it's probably 10, 20 bucks in the used bins. This is a Gene Clark album, okay? Everyone knows Gene Clark. They love the Byrds. He's definitely regarded as an incredible songwriter, and he's gotten a lot of fame since passing. Carla Olsen has a beautiful voice. It's almost strident. It's so clear. It's so strong. The way they work together when they either harmonize or they trade out verses in a couple of the tracks, it works so well. It is such a fitting final album by him. I find in the last 5 years or whatever, this will be the most, if anything, Gene Clark or Byrds related. This side A of this is what I play the most.
gypsy rider sing your two-wheel symphony.
I think that there's some cognitive dissonance around like cheap records are not good.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to, I feel like that, there's a couple of those where I wanted to draw attention to that because I feel like you can get too caught up in what is it selling for on Discogs now? What's the median? What's the high? And it shouldn't be, I mean, we are showing that because they're rare and it's fun. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure you like it. And this is part of what presumably this series is built upon. I do like also name checking stuff that you can get. That's reasonable. That's affordable. That is amazing. And people just don't talk about it.
Yeah, and conversely, there's lots of expensive records that suck.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Tindersticks.
We travel light.
Everything I've done.
You say
And they kind of do a lot of historically kind of Baroque chamber indie rock. Stuart Staples has a very rich voice, very competent musicians, always a lot of space. So this obviously is this test pressing of their second album. It obviously looks different, I think, than most test pressings. There used to be a record shop at Yonge and Eglinton area. I think it was located somewhere else downtown called Vortex.
I remember Vortex.
Okay, you remember Vortex. Good. So it's been closed for many years. I went through the whole thing and I got to the T's and I saw this and it was priced like $30. Not on the wall, not up front. I didn't know what it was, but I'm like, I like the Tindersticks. I'm like, what the hell is this? I have no idea. It's so weird. And I brought it up to the counter and, excuse me, sir, do you mind if I open this up to look at the condition first? And his response to me was kind of like, you want to check the condition of a test pressing of the Tindersticks that I priced for $30? Yeah, okay, sure. Like he's taking the mick out of me, but I don't know, test pressing, what is that? I didn't even know what it was. I am 99% certain that owner decided I'm going to leave an Easter egg for somebody that has the ability to dig through, that gets dirty, and they're going to get a deal. And that's what I'm doing today. And I'm like, what a wonderful way to run a shop. Well received now. The books have been written and stuff on them, but the go-betweens from Australia, very erudite. Kind of can tell it's couple literary guys doing the writing and a lot of, about love and unrequited love and things of that nature.
Don't believe what you heard. Faithful's not a bad word. Oh, won't you say?
This is an original Australian pressing of this Spring Hill Fair. So I remember thinking, wow, you find an Aussie original press of the Go-Between song in a Toronto record shop just in its new arrival's bin. Serious Go-Betweens fans are divided by it, right? A lot of people, like I consider this probably their best album front to back. Production value, it sounds incredible on my stereo, but You know, they really went for it. Like, money was thrown at them. They were being a little more poppy, a little more programmed drums from the 80s as opposed to organic drumming from Lindy Morrison. So some people claim they don't like it, that are serious go-between fans. So this is a band, they were from Philadelphia, power trio, and they were America's answer to Black Sabbath. And so I was able to buy this album still sealed when I got it a long time ago. And you can see like the sheen on it. I mean, it had a hole punch, but it was sealed. Like the guns coming out there, wraps around to the front. It's just a beautiful record and never got traction. It never worked out. Especially this album, there's a handful of tracks on it. You're like, this sounds like Black Sabbath. Like, it's amazing. They are unquestionably America's answer to Black Sabbath. For a long period, my closing song when I have listening sessions would be a song by Cactus. It's called Evil. And it was on Restrictions. I think was it their second or third album? And that song, they were, when you hear that song, that's America's answer to Led Zeppelin. So you keep hearing this is America's answer to this, but it wasn't. Like, that record is recorded so well. I used to close with that because it was, Carmen Apiece, Vanilla Fudge background, and Beck Bogert Apiece as well. You've got a singer, Rusty Day, who was also in, I think it might have been in Leaf Hound or another one, just shredding his throat. It's just one of those songs where it's like, this is a song that if I said this was an outtake of Led Zeppelin with a slightly different singer, you'd believe it.
So what's still on the want list?
I have a 19-page Word document of records to buy. So I don't even concern myself with it anymore. I'm never going to own it all. I'm never going to hear it all. There's a finite amount of time left, and under the rubric of rock and indie rock, it's infinite. I don't care if that list gets to 30 pages or if it's at 12 pages. There's so many records on there. When I travel to another city and I go to the record shop, I'm going to be surprised and end up getting a couple records that are on that list.
I'm curious if you have any advice for new collectors, people who are getting into the hobby for the first time.
Don't worry. Don't have any preconceived notion about doing it right. Don't worry that somebody says, oh, that turntable's awful, or that cartridge, what are you doing, or it doesn't work, or you're not cleaning your records. Just, if there's a genuine love of music and having a closer relationship with it matters to you, start, progress, do it. But don't worry. People are going to make you feel bad about, even if you go to a record shop and the record you want, and you're like, that's garden variety. Don't worry about any of that. Just do it because it's pure for you. Don't let seek advice. That's great. You can hear people's advice, but never feel bad about any decisions around the equipment, what you want to listen to, how clean it is, how much money you spend on it. All superfluous. Just do it because it feels right to you and you want to start that journey.
Yeah, great advice, I have to say. Great advice, yeah. Cool. Well, Eric, thank you for having me over. Thank you for showing me your collection. You've got great taste, and I love your organization, and yeah, you're just a great speaker. Thanks for allowing me in.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it.
All right, welcome back. So what do you think of Eric's collection? Let me know in the comments. Not long after I filmed this interview, I actually went out and I got a copy of that Tom Petty Wildflowers reissue, triple LP. Eric's not wrong. That record is phenomenal sounding, and it beats spending like $300 or $500, whatever it is, on an original pressing. Again, from the 90s. They didn't make a lot of these records at the time, so it's hard to find. If you've made it this far into the episode, a sincere thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.